also 2 weeks ago, so this is really very new, as the name says. Now, at its core, it is a reference manager, but it does a lot more. And I'm going to assume that you know what a reference manager is, so I won't tell you all the basic stuff. I'll just show you what it does extra. And my favorite part is actually so this F1000 workspace comes with 2 plugins, one for your browser and one for Word. So I have a Word activity here, and you see at the top that I have the F1000 tab open, so that appears once you plugin. And I select a project called Future Pub Demo, and when I later go into the site, you can see what for itself. Okay, this is really quick too. I'm Chrome right now. I have a little F in the screen here. If I'm on anything with search results, I can say, okay, I can add all the articles I want. It's going to take a while because it's big page. Or just select the ones I want to add. Again, I want to add to my feed. If I'm on an individual article, I can just say item, or I can select top for copyright. Interesting. We're here, and I can just save my text. I'm going to put it all in the same folder, and add a comment, save. And if I go back, 3 items added. There we go. And the notes I just added are also saved. Hi, that was it. That's what I just wanted to show you very quickly. There's a lot more you can check out yourself.
Okay.
Does anyone have any quick questions for me? Time for 1 or 2.
Not something you know the answer to. So experimentally, we have a sort of a way of storing citation data within the documents, and then you can open our documents in one and the other and vice versa. I'd be interested to know whether or not you get 1,000 stuff that at all.
I don't know, but I can ask.
The reason being, so Word has a citation system, and then like each of the pieces of software it has. So the problem is that people don't know the document, which they didn't have access to that piece of software. So,
I see what you mean. I don't know how it works for this.
okay, but maybe you know someone who does.
Yes.
We'd be interested to talk.
I think it was
I was going to ask, does it work in all browsers fairly well?
It works really well in Chrome, Safari, Firefox, and it works in the latest version of Internet Explorer. But not in the old Explorer.
Anyone else? Ava's around.
Yeah.
If you want to see a demo, listen. But in the spirit of keeping things moving, we now go on to our second talk, which, if I remember correctly, is James Harwood. James is one of the founders of Penelope. And I'm not going to tell you what, in fact, James will just tell you what Penelope is.
I've got hay fever at the moment, so I'm sorry if I just randomly sneeze. I've got my tissues ready. Yeah, so I'm James, I'm not Penelope, that's good. And I recently made a jump from the lab bench to the startup desk, helping to improve the quality of research reporting. So for the last few months, I've been working with another guy, Chris, to make a tool, Penelope, which automatically screens manuscripts for common errors and omissions, helps authors to improve their work and submit to a journal. All right, Penelope can check for loads of stuff. 100 is not quite accurate at the moment, but that's what we're aspiring to. But already she can check that citations and references match up. She can make sure that figures and tables are all mentioned in order in the body of the text. She can make sure that data has been published and cited properly, that code has been published and cited. She can ensure all necessary statements are there, all sections. Web links have been archived so that they don't rot in the future. The next couple of weeks, we're also going to add some statistical checks, so confidence intervals and a few other things to put in mind. After an author uploads their document, they'll see something like this. So this is a screenshot from Penelope actually. It was from comma Penelope. So it won't work on your mobile though, not yet. On the right hand side, we have Penelope suggestions. So if you click on a suggestion, the manuscript will scroll and highlight the relevant portion of the text. Now, when she explains why it's important, it includes links to further resources that the minimum set of minimum set of things that should be mentioned in any research are completely transparent. So the best examples would be a consort statement, guidelines. These are journals, but not very well enforced because they're hard to enforce. And there are actually scores more of these guidelines, which don't get used that much at the moment. So the Equator Network are really good. We're making all of these guidelines, and we're going to take all of their stuff, give it to Penelope. So Penelope can recommend guidelines to authors, and then give them a convenient way to scroll through their item, highlighting the bits of text that relate to each of the checklist. After that, you can export a completed checklist to submit with your finished manuscript to your journal. So we hope that these checks and the reporting help editors to first of all process more quickly, because you don't have to be chasing up authors for missing data, missing sections. And secondly, the submission that they get is going to be reported completely and transparently. See, not every journal is the same. Different journals. We don't intend on setting the rules. That's journal's job. So we're making Penelope really customizable, so it can be tailored from journal to journal. As an example here is 3 different boxes represent 3 different journals. The 2 on the left have different rules when it comes to where to cite the data, and the one on the right doesn't have any data policy at all, but Penelope's detected the person that funded the manuscript and is now enforcing that funder's data mandate. So Penelope can help journals to comply with funder requirements as well as helping them to enforce their own policies. It's not just me. There's Chris, who's arguably more important because he's senior 15 years experience making bespoke software for big companies, mainly energy companies and property companies. And then we've been lucky enough to get 2 pretty modest grants from UK Department of Business and Innovation. So I think that's it. I guess, yeah, I'd like to just put a question out to the audience. Could this be useful to you guys? The format is a bit weird, but feel free to check out the demo. And if anyone here works at a journal and would be interested in piloting it, then please get in touch. We've got 2 pilots lined up, but it'd be nice to have some more. That's it. Thanks. Any questions?
So what formats of manuscript content?
So at the moment, we're just working with Word files, but ultimately it'll be quite format agnostic, so we should be able to handle LaTeX and XML as well, actually. Anything else? Yeah.
Does it, as well as correcting or pointing out where you've gone, can you give an audit to demonstrate?
So an audit that could then be submitted to the editor. Yeah, that's a really nice idea. Something we could definitely do. And we could show the past that these are the things the authors decided not to do, and this is why they decided. No. No, we see that happening through generating revenue. Hopefully, yeah. Yes?
Is there anything similar on market right now?
So there was a reporting wizard thing maybe 5 ago, some people in Canada, but it seems to have died. Or I think they switched over to auditing legal documents, which is probably not academia. Yeah.
Just to recap, the work at the moment, you go to your website and
Oh yeah, I missed that bit. I knew I missed something out. Yeah. So we want to be able to provide journals with their own tailored version of Penelope, and the idea is that we will then journal Penelope with instructions for their authors to upload it and over journals.
potentially is well to upload the document if they want the citations like well everyone else would expect something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm guessing part of it is sort of codifying of the information for funder departments and so on. I mean, would you really, as a public resource?
Yeah. So that bit, we haven't made that yet, but we're going to use the what's it called now? Like Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
Page for stuff like that. But yeah, that could be a cool thing to use. It's useful. Yeah.
Revenue schemes or operations. I put that you need to generate revenues.
Yeah.
To be sustainable. What is your revenue?
Yeah. So we're hoping that journals will pay to use a customized version of Penelope. So they would have it on their own submission website. So authors then double check their work using that journal's version of Penelope, and they get submitted to the journal. So that makes sense.
Is there one more question? Is there one
So,
more?
I was just going to ask, just to play devil's advocate,
Yeah.
what's the quality control on it? Do you know if this is stuff?
Yeah, I thought that question was going to come. We're doing that right now, and it's actually taken a while to build up a big enough volume of work files to test on. So I've been canvassing all my friends at uni and other people. So we'll be hopefully doing that in the next few weeks, and I'll happily share that once it's done. It's not done yet, but the accuracy for some of the checks is pretty good. So checking the statements and sections, that's over 98%. I think we tried that last time. Citation is pretty good as well, and then the others we haven't checked yet. Thanks.
Thank you for explaining that you're not helping. Cool. So we're now moving swiftly on to the third presentation of the evening. It's fantastic to welcome back Richard, who I think gave a talk at our first or second one, but it's got a nice update for you on Naomics, making it easier for life scientists to find things.
Thank you. So I'm going to talk about Naomics, which is a website for life scientists to track new papers relevant to their research. And it's actually just changed focus based on feedback from early users. So I just released a new version a couple of days ago, so I can talk a bit about what that does. So as I'm sure a lot of you are aware, life science papers are currently being published at quite a phenomenal rate. There's about 20,000 journal articles, biomedical journal articles published every week, for one paper every 30 seconds. And it's a real challenge for scientists who are busy in the lab to try and keep up with the latest information in their field. Part of the problem is the tools people are using aren't sufficient. So people sign up to email alerts from PubMed or Google Scholar or tables of contents from journals, and you get sent a lot of emails, and if you open them, you see a list of paper titles. You need to sift through those, try and find something that might be interesting. It's time consuming, it feels like a lot of work, and it's very easy to miss something important. So Naomics is trying to help this by taking ideas from social media to build something with a better user experience. So on the Naomics site, scientists follow particular genes, diseases, species, thousands of biological terms, or combinations of terms, to build a personalized Twitter-like newsfeed of new papers. So the advantage of a newsfeed is everything's all in one place, not in lots of separate emails. It's designed to be easy to scan through the feed. You can open up and read abstracts in line and search everything in the feed. There are also a couple of ways of filtering the feeds to try and help you find interesting things more easily. So we include data from Altmetric, so tracking mentions of papers on Twitter and other sources. So it's possible to sort your feed by popularity, so you can see what people want in your particular feed. So the site works by taking all new abstracts that are identified every day and running text mining to identify the genes, species, and thousands of mesh terms. So the text mining approach has several advantages. So firstly, it deals with synonyms. If I'm finding a particular researching for lots of different names, with the way the gene may be referred to in papers, so I don't miss anything. You can also take advantage of hierarchies in mesh terms. So if, for example, I were following leukocytes, which are white blood cells, I could automatically see any papers that mention specific types of white blood cells without mentioning that term itself. So a few screenshots to show what the site looks like. So when you're first setting up your newsfeed, you come to the site and search for something. So I've searched for, off the top, type in Alzheimer, and it's automatically matched a term. So it's matched Alzheimer's disease, and then it's showing me all the papers, the latest papers that mention Alzheimer's disease. So it's designed to be quick to scan through, so it's got big titles, and then underneath each paper, the terms that have been identified to try and give a quick overview of what the paper's about. You can open up an abstracts, and then down the left-hand side again of these terms, so this shows the most frequently mentioned terms in papers about Alzheimer's disease. So here I've sorted the feed by popularity, so this is using the all metric data, and this is showing me the most tweeted papers on Alzheimer's disease in the last 30 days. Then if something like Alzheimer's disease was too generic a search, I can make it more specific by adding more terms. So you can type more stuff into the search box or click on any of these fields to add them as another filter. So now I'm looking for Alzheimer's disease and a specific gene, so I'll only see papers where those two things both occur in an abstract. So you can add as many as you like, and once you've found something that you want to save, you click on follow at the top right, and that will save the search and add it to your newsfeed. So normally when you come to the site every week, or hopefully every day, then you go straight to your newsfeed and you can see the results of everything you'll follow. So I'm following 4 searches here. Down the side I've set up some categories, so you can put your searches into different categories. So if you're working on multiple projects, you can save multiple searches. So I would come to here and just scan through, maybe sort by popularity or impact, and hopefully quickly find something that's useful. So if you do find useful papers, you can bookmark them to add them to a separate list of saved papers, get PDFs and export them later. So this version of the site has just been released, so there's quite a lot of new stuff to add. Eventually it will also include recommendations, so the feed will actually learn what you find useful and then offer recommendations up to customize it. I think social interactions are very important as well, so being able to recommend papers to other members of your lab or colleagues. There will at some point be an API, hopefully soon, to integrate with other sites and set up custom news feeds around particular topics. And with identifying all these topics in literature, it'd be interesting to look at trends over time to see which topics are trending, how they change, how they're trending between journals and countries and so on. And also some other sources of data, so Figshare and some sources of preprints I'd like to add in. So if you'd like to give it a try and let me know what you think, that would be great. Thank you very much.
How thorough is your search? I mean, are you confident that you've covered pretty much all the sources, or in terms of published literature?
Well, it fetches everything from PubMed, which is not going to be everything, but yeah, so it's just, any paper in PubMed should be, any new paper in PubMed should be.
And what about languages? I mean, I know most of the most important papers are published in English, but occasionally you get the odd paper here and there in other languages. Is that something you would consider at some stage?
Maybe. I'm not sure what I would do.
Sure.
But yeah, so you can see in PubMed some papers that have translated titles. So I don't know about.
Does it have from the EU as well, just the US version?
It fetches data from the US version. I don't know if the content is particularly different. Updates at different rates. But yeah, no, it fetches from the US.
Very good. And is it free?
Yes. Sorry. Yeah.
Any thoughts on branching out beyond the life sciences? It's not something that would be really useful to computer scientists and so on, but they're asking.
Difficult to be specific. So being specific to life sciences means, so the aim is to include other sources of data. So if you can identify biological entities, you can then pull in other sources of data to relate them together. So it would kind of combine search with more structured data. So I think being specific is quite important. Sorry, Ross?
It's all about incorporating full text, particularly in dairy sciences papers, because if you saw that recent article in the New York Times about Ebola being rediscovered in Nigeria, the reason they didn't discover that was it's tucked way down in the full text of the article. Ebola was not mentioned in the abstract back in 1982. And so that's something that's only in the full text. I've noticed this in my research, there's lots of interesting data you can only find if you actually did text mining on the full text paper rather than just abstracts. So where you have legal access to it, direct access, I think maybe you should look to full text or direct access papers and actually advantage direct access research.
Yeah, I knew you were going to ask me that. And yes, yes, I would like to. I think it's also important to work, to not just mine everything and say it matches all of these 100 terms, because it's important to demonstrate what the paper is actually about as well. But I think mining full text recognizes.
I was going to ask what your business model is.
There's a few ideas at the moment. So it's free for people to use. So I'm talking to a couple of companies about creating custom news feeds. Potentially some of the stuff that I'd like to do around trends would be paid for by someone. And maybe some sort of analysis on what's going on in the relationship, tracking of reagents and techniques.
Given that you've sort of skewed the whole of the market, this has got very sort of biological life sciences, but a medical version, into population intervention outcomes and study time.
So with data buckets, with our
medical stuff is
sure.
clinical treatments.
Yeah, so the terms, so it uses MESH, which is a set of terms which is sort of categorizes things in public. And they cover a lot of medical procedures and diseases and things like that as well. So it may well be covered, but I'm not an expert on that. So, you can certainly do, so as well as following terms, you can do free text searches, so you can search for stuff.
I'm just wondering whether you've thought about working with sorts of organizations, database companies that are struggling to keep market share. So to help them to bring their database back to life somehow. I think of any number of traditional databases where you go in and offer some kind of proactive social media type feeds to their content, not predictable text, to actually use that.
So I don't know the database that you were talking
Well, I'm not
about.
thinking anything, but just, I mean, let's take, I used to work in physics, so let's take in physics, one of the best used databases in space is the big Internet. And the Internet has full text, and a number of organizations on full text. None of them do, and it's not my knowledge, is to provide this kind of advanced warning on content that's coming using social media, using CDN, using these sort of techniques. You know, still based on setting up alerts, profiles, and hoping something, but this is much more real. Actually, could happen to real.
Yeah, being sciences, but yeah.
Remember that database that's feeding from this science, technology, core database.
The old version now, which I've just replaced, was actually sort of designed using data. So that would but obviously it's now just tracking data.
Cool. I think we should keep going on. I'm interested in time. But that was really good. Thanks for together. I have Sabine Lewitt, who's going to talk about the new company, Science Pod, is aimed at raising the profile of research. So there's a solution when technology does. Sabine has flown over from Ireland.
Yeah. The flight was on fire. Yeah, so thank you very much for your invitation. I'm delighted to be here. I used to work around the corner in Queen Street about 10 years ago, and it's like coming back to my old hunting ground, even though the area has changed a lot. So before I start, I'd like to know how many of you work in publishing, academic publishing, and wow, and how many startups? Okay, great. Okay, so I think my talk is definitely relevant. Since I moved to Ireland 10 years ago after leaving London, I've learned to tell stories. This is a great skill that the Irish have. And I'm going to start this presentation by telling you a bit of a story to explain what the business is about. Yeah. So the story of Science Pod starts with a pod, and then there's a P, and then 2, and then 3. And these P's were very special. And I'll tell you why. These P's were genetically engineered to be resistant to some particular beetle that were attacking them. And telling the story of these P's is one of the biggest challenges that scientists face when they want to go beyond their inner circle, their peers. And this is where the idea from Science Pod came from. I mean, I worked at Nature Biotech a few years ago, and my job as news editor was to translate these complex messages into simple terms. Essentially, it's using storytelling tricks, journalistic style writing, art writing, to messages. And the target audience are maybe scientists themselves, I'll tell you why later, as well as science publishers. So as you know, publishing is in mutation. Some of you might have attended the Future of Scholarly Scientific Communication organized by the Royal Society in May and April. As we know, the era of Science 2.0 makes publishing evolve in a way that's more pervasive than ever before. There's also a bit of a situation going on with traditional publisher where there's been an element of trust lost along the way. And I think technology will help a publisher, revert that trend. And finally, there are also new formats popping up. The likes of truly brief communication are a new kind of format that enables scientists to communicate beyond their inner circle. So there's been a bit of a fuss made about robots writing stories instead of journalists. I mean, certainly there's a use for automated writing for particular kind of data being translated, actual data being translated into pure factual reports, and that can work. But I mean, all these companies involved intelligence would tell you that writers, I mean, so much at this point in time, and there's still a bit of element of recently that there is a demand for nice stories about some of the P&As recently that asked for late summaries in the field of and nature, and you can see the kind of tweet that triggered, and really that guy captured the essence of what the concept behind the Science Pod is. You need to increase your impact. One of the ways to do it, make your science more accessible. So another phenomenon which is changing the landscape is that publishers are not the only ones who are directly involved in sharing the stories of scientists what scientists do. That's themselves getting more and more involved. They use these kind of forms. You never know. You probably have tested them. Really, it changes the balance between the publisher and the actual power that science tell their stories. And so the rationale for the kind of service that Science Pulse offers is basically for scientists themselves, their interest in communicating to a wider audience is to raise their profile so that they can progress further in their career, explain to these panels at the university what it is that they do, which is very often so complex that it's very difficult to convey in simple terms. Journal editors also are swamped literally by piles and piles of manuscripts, and having the odd summary that would explain in simple terms what changes are brought by this new piece of research, I think would also help the work of editors. And I've spoken to some editors in Open Access Journal, and in principle they say it would be good if we had this. Sorry. Okay. So just to tell you, and the publishers themselves, the ones I spoke to, have an appetite to raise the profile of the content they publish to try more people. So essentially, the service creates high quality articles. We have a backend which streamlines the system. It's not rocket science, but it works. This is what we've been using, and my developers are in Greece. And we have a network of science writers, editors, and proofreaders, highly talented people, all try them and test it. So that's the kind of content we do. I will skip through them once we're running out of time. But essentially, once the content is created, we've integrated with a startup called NewWit. They're the Greek developers I was telling you about. They have a system, magazine-style content in an intelligent way that learns about the reader's preference. So you have a little heart shape. Every time you go to your own magazine, you can tell the magazine what it is that you like. And then as a result of that, it displays the picture in proportional size to your taste. And that's the kind of thing that we've integrated with it. It's quite smart. So they're called NewWit. They're based in Greece. And their background is in artificial intelligence. I can tell you more about it. So at the moment, we're talking about integrating the content into the publisher's backend directly. I'm talking to a few of them that I've been working with in the past few years. Also integrated the content with social media platforms, the likes of Mendeley and so on and so forth. So the idea is to streamline the process of raising the profile as quickly as possible. And finally, we're also distributing the content. So we create the content, publish it, and distribute it, and of course provide accountability, because for funders it's essential. There is an obligation to do so. So we're about to launch, and we're looking for partners in integration. Any question? I'm here to answer them.
I suppose the obvious one again is there's publishers to funding
Publishers, many publishers. I mean, I'm already working with publishers, and basically what they see in it is they outsource the part of the job that they could do in house, but they most of the time they don't want to spend time on that. So one of my clients, for instance, is the European Journal, process of integrating this into their backend. Few people are talking. Yeah, we can work. I mean, my network is throughout Europe, so we can work. We can interview scientists and then model it on and turn it into a proper high standard English article, which is where the market is really in non-English speaking countries.
Following on from that, I mean, I know that writing and editing is really expensive. So how is that going to be? How are you going to be able to charge enough publishers?
Well,
you're not going to pay them very
no. Well, the only way you retain good writers is by paying them sufficiently market rates. So essentially, the way it works with publishers, you deliver magazine-style content, so a collection of articles, and then of course there are overheads that need to be paid to get to that stage, and therefore this is how it works. The writers will still be paid decently. I mean, the 3 months is long enough to know that it doesn't work if your writers are not paid enough. And I've worked with people who don't pay writers, and it's just a nightmare. It's not sustainable.
Are you looking for writers?
Yes. Come to me, I'll deliver the final product. Yes.
I may have missed this, but how is the lay version of the article linked to the scientific version?
But we can hyperlink it. Like
Is it linked to the scientific side as well, to the simple version?
we can hyperlink it, and I can show you an example of something we've done for the European Medical Journal. This is the way it comes out of the system. So, well, normally there's a hyperlink to the original paper. That's their highlight. That's their way of saying to other scientists, come to us and publish critical science. But it can be done. I mean, it's all web-based. So, any other questions?
Thanks again.
Yep.
So we have 2 talks left for now. One, in fact, the next one, I believe we prevented Carl from having a nice trip abroad. He had to give up a trip to Barcelona. And talk to us today. There we go. But yeah, so Carl works at Crossref, and they've got really interesting things in metadata for a long time. And their API has been developing. Carl is going to tell us about it.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so I'm Carl. I work at Crossref Labs. I have something a little bit different to show you. I don't really have any swanky user interface or website. My landing page is a GitHub So, just a quick overview of what Crossref actually is. It's kind of a very narrow definition, but you can kind of see Crossref as basically a big wall of communicating metadata. That's the goal of the work. And we receive that mainly from publishers, starting to receive it from a few places as well. So really insertion by publishers. We're not really trying to aim a breadth, so we don't concern with a particular subject or particular publishers or journals. It's really a big database of about 74 million scholarly works. So what kind of data do we have? Well, we've got some basic metadata. It's not like Crossref started off as to meet its mission statement 50 years ago. Titles, authors, ISSNs, and things like that, covering journal articles, conference proceedings, data actually, but like and more recently, the Paragraph 2, we started to collect things like funding information, so how the publications, the work that publications report on has been funded, license URLs, so exactly how the content is licensed, full text locations, so going directly from particular content to the actual place you can find full text. Information about significant updates, like attractions, and so forth. And things like ORCIDs. So we used to have pretty ambiguous author names, now we're actually starting to collect ORCIDs. So some of the figures, so 73 million DYs in total, about 56 million journal articles, 4 million proceedings, 1 million data DYs, about 600,000 information that covers about 9,000 funders. Our database of funders is growing as well. About 3 million DYs of license information, unique licenses. Usually a lot of those are like Creative Commons variants, so variants of version, variants of terms, 12 million DYs where we can take it direct to the full text. That's not to say we're allowed to look at it, it depends on whether it's subscribed, whether it's open access published, or whatever. And the information about 21,000 significant updates, which includes 580 attractions. About 200,000 DYs that link to also the author information for those works actually has So until recently, looking at that list, I think, well, I could go to Crossref and I could ask them something like which licenses, and the answer is kind of, yeah, we can tell you that, but to do so, you're going to have to sign up to. You already got all licenses, so that was the situation. Recently, we've been developing some new services to try and get our data out there. One of them is the Crossref API. So now, actually, you can answer that question that I posed on the last thing with just a few people. So first of all, you find the UI, and then you ask this question, give me a breakdown of UI content of the open license you want. And you get something like this back. So your answer is actually got about 50-50 CC by 3.0 to 4.0 and a bit of CC the message that you get back from the last separation. So these are the kind of things that you can ask. You can ask about works, you can ask about funders, you can ask about journals, and you can kind of break all those down. Licenses, things like that. It's RESTful, it's got quite nice interface. It's very straightforward to use. Even if you're not technical, you can probably figure out how to put in a URL into your So REST API elasticity metadata, it's free to use. It's code for this, all of Crossref's recent services. It's probably available. I wouldn't say they're really open source projects. They're not really designed to be open. But people do actually contribute to these Crossref. And it's there, you know. That's the REST API we have. Thing. Content negotiation. This is a way going page for that journal article, you can actually get the metadata information about that piece Yeah, we actually provide time. Given the time, not in the time.
Follow-up question. Where people give you people's information, what do you do about that?
We chase them when yeah. License matter. Yeah, I mean, we get told about these problems, we chase them. Yeah, we have actually. We're working on that at the moment. Yeah, so we're going to. I shouldn't say too much about it, doing exactly that, to publish a list of our members who provide.
So it's interesting that you're kind of going out into abstract elements, bigger elements.
Starting point. You're talking about perhaps like indexing the full text. That's a very, very different to what we do at the moment. And yeah, I have no idea whether that would ever be a possibility.
Our book chapters continue to grow in Crossref. Is there going to be something?
I think maybe it is a set portion that is growing. You know, we've been pushing that question to get books and books in there. Yeah. Figures, but it is important. Things like standards are how we've actually designed UIs too. So. Any more questions?
Thank you. So we're now on to our last talk, and there's an interesting project that one of my
was using it as a way to collate and manage the research. And quite a late from the ones that we had about finding to date with relevant research. Once you found a little bit more about it and create this particular use case for project environmental events. It was about capturing this information that is pretty unstructured. You know, if you look at it all together, and so factors of interest, connect this data all together and make sense of it in a visual way, which allows you to look at a lot more data. So out of this would have come something like, if I can get it right, There we go. So this is a couple of months ago. And it's a pretty lengthy piece. Down to the content. See that it's pretty substantial. It's a 50-page report. If I go all the way down to the citations, you will see that it's that it's got all of those which are connecting the information that was put in. So that is all 334 papers. Well, it doesn't have to be just papers, there might be 1,000 particular factors and what FutureScaper helps is so just to do is connect them. So see how each factor might be connected in a particular piece of literature we're looking at, and then use this network to understand, for example, try for what the outcomes that may be varying the most could be in particular areas. So to give you an example, the particular citation URL in this case, and some other data with the impact for that particular citation. As well as other metadata in terms of its metadata. But something that we've realized that we can do a lot more easily is are reading this information. Then we could take care of all of this metadata that is relevant to a particular citation, and there is way more interpreting it, which is what happens in this middle here. So in this regard, we don't have one yet, but we're very much interested in seeing what people are using and what kind of integrations would be most useful for that sort of thing. So if you have any suggestions, then you can.
Are the arrows always cause, or do you want other relations?
They don't have to be. At the moment, they are treated in exactly the same way as long as they're so we can have non-directional links as well as directional ones. Directional ones give you more powerful analytics in this regard. But you could have different directional links, for example, and you'd be able to apply the same algorithm for effectively two separate networks that overlap each other by the different links. So you can have different kinds of links.
I see a field called publication. Can you tell us the sources that you use?
Sure. This is, I will open the drop down. This is very much depends on the data model that the researchers or the research managers have to use. So all of this, all of these categories that are used for the citation story as a whole and for the individual factors, they are all configurable. And the tool is completely agnostic as to what they are. So these are the ones that science decided would be relevant. If you want to use other kinds of publications, then that would be a matter of configuration.
Impressive. Thanks.
Any more questions? Well, that's so all the speakers can have a chat with them about anything we didn't ask. But yeah, the idea now is that we just talk. Yeah, enjoy. Yeah, so I think for those welcome to a family. Next slide, please. That's